High Admiral Kenna of the Meridian Exploration Fleet had seen many civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy's spiral arms. After 3 centuries of service, she prided herself on being able to assess a species' technological capabilities within moments of first contact. But today, as her flagship's sensors picked up the unusual energy signatures from the Sol system, something felt different. Another primitive radio civilization, her second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vrix, declared with characteristic dismissiveness. The signal suggests they've barely achieved solar system colonization. Kenna's crystalline sensory filaments flickered with uncertainty. The energy readings were indeed consistent with early spacefaring races, but something about their patterns seemed deliberate, almost like a carefully crafted facade. "Launch the standard reconnaissance drones," she ordered, pushing aside her unease. The Meridian Alliance's first contact protocols were clear: assess, document, and if the civilization proved sufficiently advanced, extend an invitation to join the galactic community. If not, establish a monitoring outpost and move on. The drones streamed out of the flagship's launch tubes, their quantum sensors primed to map human technological development. As the data began flowing back, Vrix's satisfaction grew. Primitive chemical rockets, basic orbital habitats, rudimentary exactly as expected, Admiral. Shall I prepare the monitoring beacons? Before Kenna could respond, the sensor officer's voice cut through the command deck. Admiral, multiple spatial distortions detected. Massive energy spikes across all frequencies. The holographic display erupted with new contacts as massive vessels seemed to materialize from nowhere, emerging from what appeared to be artificially generated spatial folds. The ships were unlike anything in the Meridian database, sleek, angular constructions that defied the Alliance's understanding of proper spacecraft design. "Impossible," Vrix whispered, his confidence evaporating. Their energy signatures, they were masking their true capabilities. Kenna's tactical training took over as she assessed the situation. The human vessels were arranging themselves in a formation that suggested not just technological sophistication, but centuries of space warfare experience. And at their center, emerging from the largest spatial fold she'd ever witnessed, was something that challenged her understanding of what was possible. The vessel, if it could even be called that, was larger than some moons she'd seen. Its surface bristled with what her sensors identified as launch bays, point defense arrays, and weapon systems that made her flagship's armament look like children's toys. But most terrifying of all was its design philosophy: modular, adaptable, clearly built to be reconfigured for any tactical situation. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission." Text only, being automatically translated now. The message that appeared on her screen was elegantly simple. "Meridian vessel, you have entered restricted space. Your scanning drones have been intercepted and disabled. Please maintain your current position while our diplomatic vessel approaches. Any hostile action will be met with appropriate response. Welcome to human space." Kenna felt her primary heart skip a beat as a smaller vessel, though still larger than her flagship, detached from the massive human formation. Its design was different, smoother, clearly meant to appear less threatening, while still maintaining overwhelming capability. "Sensor analysis of the human fleet," her tactical officer reported, voice trembling slightly. "Their technology. It's not just advanced, Admiral. They've taken concepts we considered theoretical and turned them into engineering principles. The energy output of their smallest support ship exceeds our flagship's total capacity." As the diplomatic vessel approached, Kenna realized that in all her centuries of first contact scenarios, she'd never considered this possibility: that a species might deliberately downplay their capabilities, waiting to see how visitors would choose to approach them. The humans hadn't just achieved technological sophistication, they'd mastered the art of strategic deception. "Stand down all weapons," she ordered, her voice firm despite her inner turmoil. "Prepare for diplomatic contact." She paused, then added, and send a priority message to the Alliance Council. They need to know everything has changed. On her command deck's main display, the human diplomatic vessel grew larger. Its hull bore markings that were being translated in real time. T.H. Olive Branch, Terran Diplomatic Corps. The name carried an unmistakable message. Peace was preferred, but clearly on human terms. As Kenna prepared to meet humanity's representatives, she couldn't help but wonder how many other assumptions the Meridian Alliance had made about the galaxy were about to be shattered. One thing was certain: the age of Meridian preeminence in the galaxy was over. The question now was what would replace it. Fleet Admiral Elena Santos stood before the holographic display in the Phoenix Command Center, deep within humanity's Titan base on Europa. The massive chamber hummed with activity as technicians and officers monitored the ongoing first contact situation with the Meridian Alliance. The walls displayed real-time feeds from hundreds of sensor arrays, showing the Meridian flagship still holding position exactly where they'd been instructed. "They're being surprisingly cooperative," commented Captain James Chen, her strategic operations officer, "especially considering how quickly their worldview just got turned upside down." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "Wouldn't you be cooperative if you suddenly realized everything you thought you knew about military superiority was wrong?" She gestured at one of the displays showing the THS Hyperion, humanity's latest supercarrier, maintaining its position at the edge of the formation. "The Phoenix Protocol is working exactly as designed." The Phoenix Protocol had been humanity's master strategy for over a century. Appear weak when strong, appear disorganized when coordinated. Earth's history had taught harsh lessons about the dangers of displaying power too openly. When humanity finally reached the stars, they decided to learn from those mistakes. "Status update from the Olive Branch," announced Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez from her communication station. "The Meridian Admiral has agreed to a formal diplomatic meeting. They're requesting permission to dock with our vessel rather than having us dock with theirs." "Smart of them," Elena noted. "They're acknowledging the power dynamic without explicitly stating it." She turned to her chief engineer, Dr. Rajpatal. "How are the modular reconfigurations proceeding?" Raj's fingers danced across his holographic interface, bringing up schematics of the fleet. "The Hyperion's transformation is at 60% completion. We're maintaining minimal energy signatures to avoid spooking our guests, but the internal reconfiguration is proceeding on schedule. The module swap on the support vessels is already complete. The Phoenix Protocol's true genius lay in humanity's approach to spacecraft design. Every vessel in the human fleet was built from standardized modules that could be reconfigured within hours. A diplomatic vessel could become a carrier could become a mobile shipyard, and a shipyard could become a fortress. It was adaptability taken to its logical extreme. "New contact." The sensor officer's voice cut through the command center. "Meridian reinforcements entering the system. 5 vessels. Heavy cruiser configuration." Elena watched calmly as the new arrivals took up position near their flagship. The Meridian vessels were impressive by most standards: sleek, powerful, and clearly built for war. But compared to humanity's ships, they were like stone arrows against a force field. "They're being cautious," Captain Chen observed. "Those ships are arranged in a defensive formation, not an attack pattern." "Indeed," Elena agreed. "And now we show them why even that wouldn't matter. Initiate Phase 2 of the protocol." Across the human fleet, carefully maintained energy dampeners began to disengage. Sensor readings that had been deliberately suppressed started broadcasting at full strength. The Hyperion's massive frames seemed to shimmer as thousands of modular components shifted and realigned, revealing weapon systems and launch bays that had been perfectly concealed. On her tactical display, Elena watched the Meridian ship's energy signatures spike in what she assumed was alarm. Their sensors would be telling them that the human fleet they thought they were facing had just effectively doubled in power and capability without a single new ship arriving. Message from the Meridian flagship, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. "They're apologizing for the arrival of their reinforcements and assuring us it's standard procedure for first contact scenarios. They're requesting confirmation that our own fleet reconfiguration is also standard procedure. Elena almost laughed. Send them our response. This is merely a routine system test. We appreciate your understanding. Let them stew on that for a while. Dr. Patel's station beeped for attention. Admiral, the Hyperion's transformation is complete. All systems nominal. The carrier pods are ready for deployment. Excellent. Elena studied the tactical display, watching as the Meridian ships adjusted their positions slightly, trying to maintain optimal defensive coverage while not appearing threatening. Now we move to the diplomatic phase. Captain Chen, please inform the Olive Branch they may begin docking procedures with the Meridian flagship. As the diplomatic vessel moved gracefully toward its destination, Elena reflected on the journey that had brought humanity to this point. Centuries of warfare had taught them the value of peace through strength. The discovery of faster-than-light travel had taught them the importance of patience and preparation. And now, first contact was teaching them that sometimes the greatest power lay not in what you displayed, but in what you kept in reserve. Admiral. Captain Chen's voice interrupted her thoughts. Preliminary analysis of Meridian communications suggests they're already sending updates to their central government. Based on the encryption patterns, they're recommending immediate technological and military reassessment of their entire society. Good. Elena nodded. That's exactly what we wanted. The best way to maintain peace is to make sure potential adversaries understand that war is not a viable option. She paused, watching as the Olive Branch completed its docking maneuver. The galaxy is about to change, ladies and gentlemen. Let's make sure it changes for the better. The Arcturus defense grid lit up like a constellation as the Meridian battle fleet emerged from hyperspace. Captain Maya Rodriguez of the THS Thunderchild watched the tactical display with practiced calm as 50 Meridian warships took up attack positions. The Meridian separatists, it seemed, had decided to test humanity's resolve. Multiple hostile contacts confirmed, her tactical officer reported. They're deploying in standard Meridian assault formation. Energy signatures suggest they're charging weapon systems. Maya nodded, unsurprised. After 3 months of diplomatic relations with the Meridian Alliance, intelligence had warned this was coming. The separatist faction, unwilling to accept their civilization's apparent relegation to secondary status, had decided to prove human superiority was a bluff. All ships, execute formation Delta, Maya ordered. The human defense fleet, consisting of just 5 vessels, moved with precision. The Thunderchild, a Phoenix-class carrier, took up position at the center, while 4 escort vessels arranged themselves in a diamond pattern around it. Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission from the Meridian fleet, communications announced. They're demanding we surrender the Arcturus colony and withdraw from this sector. They claim this is a correction of diplomatic overreach. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Send them our standard response to hostile actions. The response was simple. Your intentions are noted. Please be advised that any aggressive action will be met with appropriate force. This is your only warning. The Meridian fleet's response came in the form of energy weapons fire. Brilliant beams of concentrated plasma streaked across space toward the human formation. They impacted against shields that absorbed the energy like water soaking into sand. Shield status? Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. Shields holding at 99.8%. Minimal power drain, her defensive officer reported. Their weapons are unimpressive compared to our simulations. Maya nodded. Begin Phase 1. Deploy the swarm. From the Thunderchild's massive launch base, thousands of objects no larger than ancient fighter jets emerged. Each drone carried a miniaturized version of human shield and weapon technology, along with quantum-entangled communication arrays that made jamming impossible. The Meridian fleet's tactical officers noticed the drone launch, of course. Their point defense systems came alive, filling space with defensive fire. But the drones moved with impossible agility, their AI systems coordinating through quantum networks to create patterns that no organic mind could predict. Swarm achieving optimal dispersal, Tactical reported. Meridian Fleet is adjusting formation to compensate. They're launching fighters. Maya watched as the Meridian ships deployed their own smaller craft. The fighters were impressive machines by most standards, but they were about to learn a harsh lesson about the nature of modern warfare. Execute Maneuver Helios, she ordered. The swarm responded instantly. Thousands of drones synchronized their actions, creating a three-dimensional web of energy and matter that encircled the Meridian Fleet. Each drone linked its shield systems with its neighbors, forming a containment sphere that would have been impossible with larger ships. Meridian vessels attempting to breach the containment field, Tactical announced. Their weapons are having no effect. Fighters are struggling to maintain formation against the swarm's electronic warfare. The Meridian fighters found themselves in a domain where human technology reigned supreme. The drones didn't just engage them in combat. They hacked their systems, overwrote their controls, and in some cases simply shut them down remotely. Phase 2, Maya commanded. Show them what those drones can really do. The swarm transformed from a defensive sphere into a weapons platform. Each drone combined its energy output with its neighbors, creating synchronized weapon effects that bypassed traditional defenses. The Meridian ship shields, designed to repel concentrated energy attacks, found themselves overwhelmed by thousands of smaller, perfectly coordinated strikes. Multiple Meridian vessels reporting shield failures, Tactical reported. Their formation is breaking down. We're detecting power fluctuations across their fleet. Maya opened a channel to the Meridian flagship. This demonstration can end whenever you choose. Your shields are failing, your fighters are disabled, and you have no effective defense against our drone swarm. You can either withdraw and face the political consequences of your failed attack, or we can continue this engagement until your ships are disabled. The choice is yours. For several tense moments, the Meridian fleet held position. Then, one by one, their weapons powered down. Their surviving fighters retreated to their launch bays. We're receiving a transmission, communications announced. They're requesting safe passage back to Meridian space. Granted, Maya ordered. But first, have the swarm transmit its complete technical specifications to their ships. Let them understand exactly what they were facing. As the Meridian fleet retreated, Maya knew the real battle was just beginning. The separatists had wanted to prove human superiority was a bluff. Instead, they had demonstrated it in a way that would send shockwaves through Meridian society. Send word to command, she instructed. The Battle of Arcturus is over. 0 casualties on either side. Recommend immediate diplomatic outreach to moderate factions within the Meridian Alliance. They'll need our help managing the political fallout from this. The Thunderchild swarm reformed into a defensive screen around Arcturus colony, their synchronized shields creating patterns of light that looked almost like Earth's ancient aurora borealis. Humanity had just demonstrated that the future of warfare wasn't about bigger ships or stronger weapons. It was about smarter systems, better coordination, and the wisdom to know when not to destroy your opponent. Ambassador Lyra Chen stood at the observation deck of the Galactic Assembly Station, watching as delegations from 12 different species arrived for what would become known as the Arcturus Conference. Each vessel that docked carried representatives eager to understand the new power dynamic that had emerged in the wake of the Battle of Arcturus. The Meridian delegation has arrived. Her AI assistant, AI, announced through her neural link. Their diplomatic vessel is significantly smaller than their previous embassy ship. A deliberate choice, Lyra mused. They're acknowledging the change in status without explicitly stating it. She turned as her senior advisor, Dr. Marcus Webb, approached with a holographic display of the latest intelligence reports. The Meridian separatists are in complete disarray, Marcus reported. After their defeat at Arcturus, their support has collapsed. But that's created a new problem. Every major power in the galaxy is now scrambling to align themselves with humanity. Lyra nodded, watching as a sleek vessel belonging to the consortium of free worlds took its place in the docking queue. They all want our technology, particularly the drone swarm systems. Can you blame them? Marcus gestured to a data stream showing the battle analysis. The Arcturus Defense Force defeated a fleet 10 times its size without destroying a single ship or taking a single life. That's not just military superiority, it's a paradigm shift in warfare itself. The observation deck's doors slid open as Administrator Venn of the Galactic Assembly entered. The tall, crystalline being's facets shifted in what Lyra had learned to recognize as anxiety. Ambassador Chen. Venn's translator rendered their harmonic speech into English. We have a situation developing. The Meridian Alliance is not just sending diplomats. They're sending their high speaker. This hasn't happened in 10,000 years of their history. Lyra maintained her diplomatic composure, but internally she smiled. Everything was proceeding according to the Terran Diplomatic Corps' predictions. We'll adjust the protocols accordingly. Please ensure their high speaker is given all appropriate courtesy. As Venn departed, Marcus lowered his voice. The Arcturus protocol is working perfectly. Every major power is doing exactly what we predicted, trying to position themselves as our closest allies. Because they're all asking the same question, Lyra replied. If human technology could so thoroughly outclass the Meridians in open combat, what else are we capable of? And more importantly, what are our intentions? The observation deck screen showed another arrival. A massive biological ship belonging to the Zith Collective, an ancient species that rarely involved themselves in galactic politics. Their presence alone would have been noteworthy. The fact that they were sending their entire Council of Elders was unprecedented. Latest update from Earth, Araya announced in Lyra's mind. The Security Council has approved the full diplomatic package. You have authorization to proceed with all planned initiatives. Lyra allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment. The transition from being seen as a curious newcomer to being recognized as a galactic superpower. But unlike the empires of Earth's past, they had no intention of using their superiority to dominate or subjugate. Begin distributing the preliminary technical packages, she instructed Marcus. Basic shield harmonics, simplified drone control systems, elementary quantum communication protocols, everything we agreed to share in Phase 1. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You don't think that will just convince them we're holding back the really advanced technology? Of course it will, Lyra smiled. Because we are. But we're also showing them that we're willing to help them advance. The technology we're sharing is genuine, useful, and will significantly improve their capabilities. It's just not everything we have. The observation deck filled with the soft chimes that indicated the formal start of the conference was approaching. Delegates began making their way toward the main assembly chamber, their varied forms and modes of locomotion creating a stunning display of galactic diversity. Time to begin. Lyra straightened her formal diplomatic uniform. Remember, our goal isn't to intimidate or dominate. It's to guide the galaxy toward a more stable, cooperative future. We just happen to be doing it from a position of overwhelming technological superiority. As she made her way to the assembly chamber, Lyra reflected on the journey that had brought humanity to this point. They had learned from their own history, from every empire that had risen and fallen, from every war that had been won and lost. The true test of power wasn't in conquest or domination, but in how it was used to elevate others. The Arcturus Conference would reshape galactic politics, not through threats or military might, but through careful diplomacy backed by the undeniable reality of human technological advancement. The galaxy was about to enter a new age, and humanity would ensure it was an age of progress, not conquest. In the assembly chamber, representatives of a dozen civilizations waited to begin what they thought was a diplomatic conference. What they were actually attending was the birth of a new galactic order, one shaped by human ingenuity, wisdom, and the determination to avoid the mistakes of the past. 5 years after the Arcturus Conference, Admiral Elena Santos stood on the command deck of the newest human vessel, the THS Unity. Unlike its predecessors, this ship wasn't built for war. It was humanity's first dedicated galactic research and development platform, created in partnership with 7 different alien species. Final integration tests are complete, Dr. Raj Patel announced from his station, where he worked alongside a Meridian engineering team. The combined human Meridian shield matrices are performing 300% better than projected. Elena watched as alien and human crews worked seamlessly together throughout the massive vessel. The Unity represented everything humanity had hoped to achieve. Not dominance through force, but progress through cooperation. Status update from the Zith Biotech Labs, her AI assistant reported. The integration of their organic computing systems with our quantum networks has been successfully completed. Processing efficiency is off the charts. The Unity's mission was simple but revolutionary. Combine the best technologies and knowledge from every willing species into something greater than the sum of its parts. It was the culmination of humanity's grand strategy, to lift the entire galaxy rather than rule it. Message from Earth Command. Communications announced. The last of the Meridian separatist holdouts have accepted the amnesty agreement. They're requesting to join the technology exchange program. Elena smiled. The separatists' defeat at Arcturus had seemed like a military victory at the time, but its true value had been as a catalyst for change. The demonstration of human technological superiority hadn't led to fear and resistance, but to curiosity and collaboration. Director Chen is requesting your presence in the Collaborative Development Center, her assistant added. The consortium representatives have arrived with their gravity manipulation proposals. As Elena made her way through the Unity's corridors, she passed dozens of mixed-species research teams. Meridian crystal tech experts worked alongside human quantum physicists. Zith biotechnology specialists collaborated with Earth's best genetic engineers. Even the traditionally isolationist consortium had been drawn into this new era of collaborative development. The Collaborative Development Center occupied 3 full decks of the Unity. Here, innovations weren't just shared. They were born from the combined insights of multiple species. The center's current project displayed on massive holographic screens, a revolutionary form of faster-than-light travel that combined human quantum mechanics with Meridian crystal harmonics and Zith organic computing. Admiral Lyra Chen, now Director of Interspecies Development, greeted her. The consortium's gravity manipulation technology is exactly what we needed. Combined with our drone swarm principles, we can create stable wormholes large enough for capital ships. And more importantly, added High Speaker Vena of the Meridian Alliance. The technology will be available to all member species. The old days of technological hoarding are over. Elena studied the technical readouts. The proposed system was elegant in its simplicity, yet would have been impossible for any one species to develop alone. It was proof that their approach was working. Update from the Arcturus defense grid, her AI interrupted. The combined species patrol fleet has successfully completed its first full rotation. 0 incidents reported. The joint command structure is functioning perfectly. That had been another key innovation. Mixed species crews using standardized technology developed through collaboration. The galaxy's first truly integrated defense force had emerged not through conquest or treaties, but through shared advancement. The latest economic reports are in, Lyra announced to the Assemble team. Galactic productivity is up 200% since the implementation of shared technology standards. Conflict rates between spacefaring species have dropped by 85%. Elena remembered the fears some on Earth had expressed when humanity first revealed its true capabilities. They had worried that showing their technological superiority would make them targets, or that sharing their advancements would weaken their position. Instead, it had ushered in an unprecedented era of peace and progress. We're receiving a priority transmission from the Galactic Assembly, communications reported. The proposal for expanding the Unity program has passed unanimously. All member species have pledged resources for the construction of 5 more collaborative development vessels. The Unity's main viewport showed a stunning sight. Ships from a dozen species moving in perfect coordination, their crews working together to map unexplored regions of space. Each vessel carried technology that was a blend of multiple species innovations, creating capabilities that would have been impossible just 5 years ago. To think, Lyra mused, all of this started because we chose to reveal our capabilities through restraint rather than aggression. The Battle of Arcturus could have been the start of a galactic war. Instead, it became the foundation of a renaissance. Elena nodded, watching as a group of young officers, Human, Meridian, and Zith, worked together at a research station. They represented the future they had worked so hard to create. A galaxy where species competed not through warfare or dominance, but through their contributions to shared progress. The true test of power, she said, echoing the philosophy that had guided humanity's approach from the beginning, isn't in how much you can take, but in how much you can give while maintaining peace. The Unity continued its journey through space, not as a symbol of human dominance, but as a beacon of what was possible when advanced technology was paired with wisdom and cooperation. The galaxy had evolved not through force, but through the simple truth that real progress comes from lifting others up rather than holding them down.